Buffalo Bills fans, buckle up, because Brandon Beane just pulled a move that nobody was talking about, and it might be more important than it looks on the surface. Less than a full day before the Bills take the field for their very first preseason snap of the year, the front office quietly went to work. No press conference, no big announcement video. Just a roster transaction that dropped late in the week and immediately had Bills X buzzing. And once you hear the full story behind it, you're going to understand exactly why this is the kind of move that tells you everything about where this team's head is at, right in the middle of the most chaotic stretch of the football calendar. Let's set the scene first, because context matters here. It's preseason. Game 1 is on the schedule against the Carolina Panthers, and it is going to be an absolute madhouse inside the stadium. We're talking about a fan base that already packed the building to the brim for a glorified practice. The annual red versus blue scrimmage pulled in more than 50,000 people. 50,000 for an intra-squad scrimmage. So you can only imagine what Saturday looks like when there's an actual opponent lined up across from Buffalo for the first time all summer. If you're one of the lucky ones with a ticket, you already know what kind of energy is about to hit that building. And even the players feel it. One of the newest additions to the roster, rookie punter Tommy Doman, could barely contain himself talking about it. He basically said the scrimmage was just a taste of what's coming, that the fan base made it feel like a real game already, and that he is fired up to get back into true competitive mode. When your punter is that hyped for a preseason opener, you know the whole locker room is buzzing. But here's where the story gets interesting. Because this Bills team is walking into Saturday banged up in a very specific spot, the secondary. Word out of the building is that starting caliber pieces are going to be held out. There's a strong chance we don't see some of the top names in the safety and cornerback rotation. And when a team is thin at a position group heading into a preseason opener, that's exactly when front offices get busy on the phone lines. That's exactly what happened here. Enter the name that's got Bills fans doing a double take: Wande Owens. Now, if that name sounds a little familiar, it should. Because this isn't some out-of-nowhere depth signing plucked off the street corner. This is a guy who was already in the building. Owens originally came to Buffalo last year as an undrafted free agent, and from the jump there was buzz about his upside. He put together a legitimately productive rookie preseason, racking up tackles across dozens of exhibition snaps and turning heads with his athleticism. But then the football gods did what they love to do to promising rookies. An injury popped up late in camp, he landed on injured reserve, and just like that, his season was over before it started. Eventually, the team moved on and released him. And that should have been the end of the story, right? A guy gets hurt, gets let go, fades into NFL journeyman obscurity. Except it wasn't the end. Not even close. Because the second Buffalo cut him loose, other teams around the league started calling. Not one team, not two. 4 different organizations brought Wande Owens in for workouts after his release. 4 separate NFL front offices looked at the tape, looked at the measurables, and thought, we want a piece of this guy. That is not normal for a player who's never taken a regular season snap in his career. That's the kind of interest that gets agents excited and gets other teams nervous. And apparently, it got Buffalo nervous too. Because after watching him work out for the competition, the Bills turned right back around, picked up the phone, and brought him home. 1 year, back in Buffalo, back in the building he already knows. Now let's talk about why. Why does a team let a guy walk, watch 4 other franchises chase him, and then swoop back in to re-sign him just 1 day before their preseason opener? A few things are happening here, and none of them are boring. First, the obvious layer. The Bills are dealing with some real question marks at safety heading into Saturday. With expected starters likely sitting this one out, Buffalo needed bodies who could step in, take real reps, and not embarrass themselves against a real NFL opponent. Bringing back a guy who already knows the defensive scheme, already has a rapport with the coaching staff, and doesn't need to be taught the playbook from scratch, that's a shortcut nobody hates. Second layer, and this is the juicier one, the timing tells you the Bills think they might have actually made a mistake letting him go in the first place. Think about it. You don't watch 4 teams show serious interest in a player you just released unless something in the back of your mind says, wait, maybe we let a good one get away. Front offices talk. Word travels fast in league circles. When Buffalo saw the market heating up around a player they already had intimate knowledge of, they didn't want to risk losing him for good. So they moved fast, made the corresponding roster move, cutting a linebacker to open the spot, and locked him back in before another team could put pen to paper. And when you actually dig into who this player is, the hype starts making a whole lot more sense. Wande Owens is not your typical undrafted safety fighting for a training camp jersey. This is a guy with a legitimately unique background. He started his college career at an Ivy League school, grinding through snap after snap of real physical football against tough competition, before transferring to finish out his career at a program where he could show off even more of his tools on a bigger stage. Across his college tape, you see a defender who was constantly around the football, constantly making splash plays, constantly proving he belonged on a Sunday roster somewhere. But it's the testing numbers that really make jaws drop. Before entering the league as an undrafted free agent, Owens put together an athletic testing performance that would make some first-round picks jealous. We're talking about a vertical jump that ranked in the high 90s percentile among defensive backs, a broad jump in a similar stratosphere, elite lateral quickness in the shuttle drill. This is a guy who tests like a certified freak of nature. His top-end straight-line speed might not be the flashiest number on the sheet, but his explosiveness, his twitch, his ability to change direction, off the charts. And it shows up on tape. Watch him in coverage and you'll see a defender who reads the quarterback's eyes, closes on the football, and has the leaping ability to go up and take it away even when he's initially playing a step behind the receiver. There's a clip of him tracking a pass over the middle of the field where the quarterback clearly thought he had an easy completion into a soft zone. And Owens comes flying in out of nowhere, elevates over the receiver, rips the ball away, and takes it the other direction for a touchdown. That's not just athleticism. That's instincts. That's the kind of play that makes a defensive coordinator sit up in his chair during film review. And it's not just about picking off passes. This kid can actually tackle, which, if you watched this Bills defense for even 5 minutes last season, you know is not something to take for granted. Missed tackles were a real issue for Buffalo, and it's been a coaching point emphasized over and over throughout this entire training camp. Well, on tape, Owens is out there flying downhill from the deep safety spot, wrapping up running backs who outweigh him and sit lower to the ground, and finishing the play with textbook form. He's not afraid of contact. He's not diving at ankles, hoping for the best. He is putting bodies on the ground. On top of the athletic traits and the physicality, the versatility is what really stands out. This isn't a one-trick safety who only knows how to play center field. On his college tape, you see him lined up all over the formation, deep in zone coverage one snap, matched up in man coverage the next, and then creeping down into the box to blitz off the edge the play after that. Defensive coordinators love a chess piece like that, somebody who can disguise where he's lining up and force an opposing quarterback to guess right before the snap. So when you put it all together, the elite testing numbers, the physical tackling, the coverage instincts, the positional versatility, and the fact that 4 other franchises were already sniffing around trying to steal him, this starts to look a whole lot less like a throwaway camp body signing and a whole lot more like a front office trying to quietly protect an asset they believe in. The real question now, the one that Bills coaches are going to have to answer over the next several weeks, is whether that off-the-charts athleticism can actually be coached into a fundamentally sound, disciplined NFL player. Traits get you into the building. Football IQ and technique are what get you onto the 53-man roster in September. That part remains to be seen. But the safety signing isn't the only storyline buzzing around Buffalo heading into Saturday's opener. This entire roster is loaded with battles worth watching, and preseason Game 1 is going to start separating contenders from pretenders in a hurry. Up at wide receiver, all eyes are on the fight for that number 3 role. On paper, one veteran name currently holds the depth chart spot, but there's a younger, more explosive talent breathing down his neck the entire summer, and this preseason slate is going to be the proving ground. Every catch, every drop, every contested ball battle over the next few weeks is going to matter in that race. On the defensive side, keep an eye on the linebacker room, where a returning starter dealing with missed practice time this offseason is now fending off a hungry backup who has been making the most of every single rep available to him. When a starter misses time in camp, opportunity knocks for the next man up, and by every account, that next man has been answering the call in a big way. There's also a fascinating cornerback battle brewing, pitting an established veteran against a physical, press-heavy rookie who's still learning on the fly. The rookie has had some rough moments recently, which is completely normal for a first-year player getting thrown into the fire of NFL training camp, but the flashes of upside have been undeniable. Don't be shocked if this battle stretches all the way into final roster cuts. Then there's the trench battles nobody talks about enough, a real fight brewing at fullback, and another simmering at left guard between two experienced offensive linemen, each trying to convince the coaching staff they deserve the starting nod. These unglamorous position battles often decide games in the regular season, even if they never trend on social media. And keep your eyes locked on the pass rush. There's a young defensive end who is being closely mentored by one of the most respected veteran pass rushers on the roster, and if he can string together even one impactful sack in this preseason opener, it is going to send an entire fan base into a frenzy. There was plenty of outside noise and criticism directed at this pick when it happened, with fans wishing the front office had gone in a different direction. A big early moment on Saturday could go a long way towards silencing that outside noise for good. Offensively, there's chatter swirling that this Bills team is planning to lean much more heavily into the passing attack this season compared to the run-first identity fans got used to watching in years past. Reports have consistently pointed toward the offensive coordinator wanting to unleash the starting running back more in the passing game, especially with a key depth piece no longer in the mix. Don't expect to see the top backfield options logging heavy snaps in the preseason opener, though. That's a Sunday in September plan, not a Saturday in August plan. So when Saturday afternoon rolls around and that stadium fills up with a sea of red, white, and blue, there is going to be a whole lot to watch beyond just the final score. This is about roster battles. This is about depth chart shakeups. This is about finding out whether a certain freak athlete of a safety can turn his off-the-charts testing numbers into real, translatable football skill on a professional field for the very first time in his career. Buffalo has been building something special the last several seasons, and these quiet, under-the-radar roster decisions in the middle of August are exactly the kind of moves that end up mattering more than anyone expects come playoff time. A cheap, low-risk re-signing of a proven athlete who already knows the building might not make national headlines today. But if he ends up carving out a real role on this defense down the stretch, you'll remember exactly where you heard it first. So that's the full breakdown, Bills Mafia. A surprise re-signing that says more than it looks like on paper, a stadium about to be rocking for the preseason opener, and a whole list of position battles heating up as final roster decisions start creeping closer. Now it's your turn. Drop a comment down below and let us know, are you buying the hype on this safety signing, or do you think it's just camp body depth? Are you Team Palmer or Team Coleman at wide receiver? And most importantly, are you fired up for Saturday? If this breakdown got you hyped for football season, do us a favor, smash that like button, drop a comment with your predictions. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss another Buffalo Bills update. We'll see you right back here after the game with a full breakdown of everything that went down on the field. Go Bills!